They got the MVP.
They lost. They lost to Memphis. That was one of the few losses they had. I was thinking the same thing. So,
all right, let's see if we can get Al on the phone.
Should we do our open thing first? Or
oh, yeah, let's do that. That's a good idea.
Al's probably went, where are they? For a little late. You do your show right after this, too.
Yeah. So I got to
get through this puppy.
Okay. Let's do our two.
Yeah.
I think I did record that, right?
I think you got it started. We're there.
We're there. Well, welcome. You're listening to Sports Econ 101, the show where we discuss sports topics from a business perspective. I'm your host, Edward Brown, along with my co-host, Bruce McGowan, who's back in town again.
That's right. Back ready to talk some NBA hoops.
Excellent. Yeah, last week Mike Zabin filled in for you. He did an excellent job. We talked to Bob Dorfman. It was a very good show.
Bob's a good guy.
Yeah, it was very good. And today's going to be special because we're going to have another guest on who we've had on before.
Well, NBA legend Al Attles, who has been involved with the Warriors basketball team in the NBA as a player, coach, and front office member, and now ambassador for going on 57 years.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
Incredible. All right, at each commercial break, we're going to ask a sports trivia question. We're going to be giving away a vacation to the first email with the correct answer. Those vacations are not sponsored by the radio station, but by a Lighthouse Resort and Marina. And those vacations are free. Their only request is a $100 cleaning fee to cover the housekeeping expenses. Check them out at lighthouseresortandmarina.com. And today's trivia theme is just miscellaneous trivia.
I like it.
Yeah, got a little
bounce all over the place.
Yeah, a little basketball, a little baseball.
It's that time of year. You know, I love this time of year. You got basketball, baseball, and hockey all going at the same time. Great time of the year.
That's true.
It's a great time of the year. So we're going to talk some NBA hoops with Al Attles. I'd like to get his thoughts about this team because Al's been watching them. He's at every game. He watches them very closely. He's a huge fan, obviously, played the game, coached the team to their championship at 75. And I think you'll have a fun time listening to his insights on this particular team.
Does Steve Kerr confer with him at all?
I think they do a little bit. I think Al's not as actively involved. He's 80 years old now, so he's not as actively involved on an advisory capacity. But, you know, he's around the organization. He's around the facility. He, you know, knows the players. They know him. He's the last link, really, to the great teams of the 60s. I mean, I was going to say last link. There are a lot of other guys that are around, like Nate Thurman and Rick Barry, but they're just not around every day. Al is around, not every day, but he's right in the area. And he works with the team.
I'd like to get his perspective, too, on how the game has changed.
Oh, yeah. And how it's coming back to being what it used to be. That would be interesting to get. Is it?
Yeah.
Is it?
Is it?
Is it?
Yeah,
he'd be qualified to answer that.
I mean, just the fact that the three-pointer is a big change. In the
It has been. Yeah.
All right, stay with us. You're listening to Sports Econ 101. We'll be right back.
All right. Hopefully Al will answer the phone.
Yes.
No more of this. Ring, ring, ring. No answer.
Yes, I do have it here. Okay.
Ring, ring. Why don't you give me a call?
That's a good song.
Yeah, who did that? ABBA? I think it was ABBA.
Oh, that one. Okay, there's another one called Ring Ring.
Yeah, Ring Ring.
That's different, but that Alvin did that one.
But if it rings like 3 times, I'm not worried. If it rings 4 times, I'm worried. There we go.
Is that Al? All right, we got you on Sports Econ 101 again with Edward Brown and Bruce McGowan.
What's going on, Al?
How you guys doing?
Good.
Great. I finished a nice 6-mile hike up Mount Tam, so I'm feeling no pain.
Life is good.
Can you believe this guy's 64 years old?
It's only a number.
Yeah,
that's right. Exactly.
Who said that anyway? There was some song.
Yeah, but then he also said, "Give me another number."
Give me another number. That's right. Give me another one, please.
I'm just saving a file here.
Good.
That's
I think it was Mil Torme.
Very
great.
good.
That was such a fun game last night, Al. I really enjoyed that.
Yeah, right.
That's basketball in its purest form.
You know what? It's just a pleasure to see.
It is.
A pleasure to watch.
It is.
Happy to see.
Yeah, especially
happy with the outcome like that, but
yeah.
pleasure to watch, right?
I love this kid, Damian Lillard. I think he's just. I cannot believe he was not an all-star. We got to talk about that. Definitely.
All right, you guys ready?
Yeah.
Okay, let's just get right into it here. Welcome back to Sports Econ 101. I'm Edward Brown, your host, along with Bruce McGowan. Bruce, who's on the phone?
Well, we've got Al Attles, a good friend of ours who has been involved with the Warrior organization, the NBA, since 1959, I believe, as a player, then a coach, and a front office executive and ambassador. He's worn every hat for that organization, and he's at every game, the home games anyway, enjoying this great run that the Warriors have had the last couple of years. Al, we were just talking off mic about the recent game that finished off the series with Portland, the second round series. And for those that don't pay that close attention to to the Warriors Portland or weren't paying that close attention, it was just a riveting series. The last two games were incredible with the return of Steph Curry and some dramatic comebacks. And you've watched a lot of basketball, you played a lot of basketball, and coached a lot of basketball. Does it get any better than those two games that we saw those last couple?
Well, it really doesn't. What happens? You try not to make comparisons of other times. The whole thing is, what have you done for me lately? and you really have to think in terms of what's going on now, and it's just a pleasure to watch these young guys do what they do. And it's just a great feeling.
I was going to ask you, do you confer at all with Steve Kerr? Does he ever ask your advice?
You know what? When you've been around this thing as long as I've been around, you want people to, do what they think is best for them. Now, if they, ask your advice, but you don't want to ever get involved in what they're doing now, and you just are happy to see them do what they do. And I'm just happy to be there and watch them, and just keep my fingers crossed and hope that they do what they're doing.
Sure. I guess what I'm getting at is, does Steve ever ask for some help?
No, and I'm very, very reluctant to be involved in things like that, because I know how difficult it is. When you start asking for advice, an opinion's like a nose.
Yeah, everyone's got one.
Someone told me that a long time.
Yeah.
It's just like a nose. Everybody's got one.
Well, everybody's a Monday morning quarterback too.
Absolutely.
But the great thing, Al, about Steve is I think I've noticed this with him as opposed to Mark Jackson, who I liked also. But Mark was much more close to the vest. Steve is one of those guys who will solicit advice from a lot of people. I mean, he really depends on Luke Walton and Ron Adams and Jaron Collins. And, he just loves to get feedback from Jerry West. And he's one of those guys who figures, look, he's confident in what he knows, but he also knows that there's a lot of good resources around him. And not that many coaches can pull themselves away from that kind of thinking that I know everything and I'm the final say, to allow other people to have,
One of the problems that I think you're faced with is, and I've seen this happen going way back, if you talk to someone, they give you an opinion. It's just like a nose, everybody has one. So what happens is, when someone gives you an opinion, you don't take their advice, you take it personal. So you have to be very, very careful. It's just not an easy thing. And there are certain people that people rely on, and others they listen to. But I talked to a very, very good friend of mine, Les McCann. I don't know if you know that.
Yeah.
The great jazz musician.
Yeah. Today, and he's a huge Warrior fan, and we go way, way back to when I was playing and when coaching, and we talked about the exact same thing that you and I are talking about now. And he had advice, and I said, Les, one thing I love about you is that you're a good friend, but while you're a player. And he laughed about it. What I'm saying is, you got to be very, very careful. You listen to people, and you do but you still have to do what you think is right.
Yeah, I still think though, and again, this is somebody who's watching on TV versus being on the court. Because we're seeing from a camera angle up above versus being on the floor. Sometimes we can see certain things that the coaches and the players can't necessarily see at the time, and vice versa.
Okay, one of the problems that you have is you have to make a decision now. You don't have the ability to go back and say, we should have done this. We should have
True.
done this.
Yeah.
You have to do it right now, and maybe tomorrow you say, well, I should have done this. I should have done that. But you don't have that. You don't have the ability to do that. You have to make a split decision right now. Okay, you make a decision on a substitution.
Yeah, exactly.
May go back to later on and say, I should have done this. I should have. Well, it's too late.
True. I mean, okay. So take last night's game, the final game of the Warrior Portland one, and I'm watching. In the very beginning, Bogut seems out of sync. He's fumbling the ball. He's making bad passes, and it's like, at some point you go, come on, Steve, get him out and just let him rest. Put Azili in or Spates, get him back in at some point. But you can just kind of see it in his eyes, and there's just something that's just not. He's not running on all cylinders at the time.
Okay, but you have to look at bottom line. What's the bottom line?
that they win.
Oh.
Yeah.
That's right. The thing I love about Andrew
But I want to
Bogut,
win on my terms.
I know, the thing I love about Andrew Bogut, he doesn't.
And the downside of it is, bottom line, if you lose, you say you should have done this.
That's right.
Yeah. That's right.
See,
That's
I get the luxury of that.
the thing I love about Andrew Bogut, though, is while we're on the topic of Andrew
You
Bogut,
have that luxury to go back if you lose and say we should have done this.
That's true.
Yeah.
And so consequently, what you have to do is, it's a split decision that you have to make. And I can remember the decisions that I've seen made and I've made where you make a decision on a substitution, and if it works, you say that was a great decision. If it doesn't work, you say I shouldn't have done this. And go back and change that.
Yeah.
Well, Al, you're a better man than I. Go ahead, Bruce.
No, I was just going to say, I know we got a break coming up here, but you were mentioning Andrew Bogut. Edward was talking about him, and the thing it amazes me about Andrew Bogut, not very good a player in terms of scoring points. He can, with the alley oops and these short little flip shots. But the thing that he does is he brings a kind of a nastiness, an attitude, and intimidating factor on defense.
Big presence.
Yeah, and that how big, how important is that, Al? Because the Warriors traditionally haven't had that.
Let's just cut in on this.
Yeah.
What happens is, see, that does not show up in people's minds sometimes.
No.
That's true.
But what happens is that coach has that ability to see that to what it does to the team and what it does to what he's trying to do.
Well, when the opposition is shooting 38%, then you can say, hey, wait, you know what? There's a reason for that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
What happens is it doesn't show up on the stat sheet.
Yeah.
But what happens is people will say, well, why is that guy doing it? Well, because what he does makes the team a better team. It might not show up on the stat sheet. And it reflects what the players are doing and what they're thinking because of what he does. So, there's a lot that goes into it that doesn't show up on a stat sheet.
Yeah. Now, I'm going to say something that's going to surprise you. Not only did I not play in the NBA, I'm only about 6 feet, 190 pounds. Not only did I not play in the NBA, I didn't play in college. In fact, I didn't even play in high school.
Didn't play in high school. I was lucky enough to play freshman ball in college.
But to go along with what you're saying, there are a lot of people who didn't do that who think
that they know.
Yeah.
They know what to do.
Yeah, that's very true.
It's a big difference to being out there on that floor and doing it. And then, I can remember people telling you, for instance, when I go back home to New Jersey, and my friends would all tell me what I should have done and what I could have done.
Oh, gosh, I can imagine.
And they would say things like, because they're my friends, they would say, well, you passed the ball a little too much. And I would say, you know what? When I see your name on my paycheck,
That's right.
I'm going to do exactly what you want me to do.
And you're reminded that Wilt scored 100 points one night.
Exactly, that's right. In fact, hey, Al, we got to cut to a quick break. One last thing I was just going to say is that one thing I can really respect of the coaching staff is time management of the clock, especially the last couple of minutes and stuff. That to me is so impressive. Okay, we're going to cut to our first commercial break. We're talking miscellaneous trivia here. What major league pitcher holds the record for the most strikeouts in a row? Okay, I'm not going to.
Good question.
This is before this last week, because I think didn't Scherzer? I know he had 20, but I don't think he had in a row.
No.
Okay. The first email with the correct answer is going to win a free 3-day 2-night stay at the Lighthouse Resort. Email Edward at sportsecon101.com the answer to this question. What major league pitcher holds the record for the most strikeouts in a row? That's the question, all right?
Okay.
Stay with us. You're listening to Sports Econ 101. I'm Edward Brown, your host, along with Bruce McGowan and our guest, Al Attles. All right, so let me say this. Good interview so far, my friend.
How's the weather over in Oakland today, Al?
Well, it's just not too good. The sunshine is really high. It's just great. See, I can remember being back east sometime when that weather was kind of a little iffy back there.
Yeah.
It's been great out here. No, it's been great.
We're so lucky to live here. I was up on the mountain when I called you, and it was 70 degrees, little breeze, little fog on the coast, and beautiful views of the city and the East Bay. And I'm just thinking, God, where else in the world do you have vistas like this right next to a big city? It's just it's so
someone's got to
rare.
do something about this weather.
I know. Yeah. There you go. So we got now that the scenario is if Oklahoma City wins tonight, the Warriors open the conference finals on Monday. If Oklahoma City loses tonight, the conference finals would open on Wednesday. Is that how it works, Al? I believe that's how it works.
In fact, let's get into that because I'd like to talk about player fatigue and
Oh,
and
sure.
Okay. All right, here we go. Welcome back to Sports Econ 101. Again, I'm Edward Brown, your host, along with Bruce McGowan. Here was our first trivia question. What Major League pitcher holds the record for the most strikeouts in a row?
Al, do you have an answer on that one? You want to give a guess?
Well, if it wasn't, I hate for people in the Bay Area to think this way, but I was big, growing up in New Jersey, I was a big Brooklyn Dodgers fan, and Jackie Robinson, I knew very well, and Don knew, things like that. So
You got to know Jackie Robinson?
Oh, absolutely.
Wow.
Well, absolutely. Yeah.
What a great experience. That must have been. You were just a young man when he was in his prime then, huh?
In fact, when he was working for Chocolate Nazi and I had lunch together.
Sweet.
But I'm just a big Dodgers fan.
Yeah, that's okay. We'll forgive you for that.
Yeah.
We're here in the Bay Area. No, who do you think? You think it's
In fact, when Willie Mays and I used to talk about this all the time.
uh-huh.
We had a great time talking about it. But I grew up in New Jersey.
Yeah.
That's what I do.
Sure.
Yeah, my dad was big. We were all born in Brooklyn, so my dad.
Really? I did not know this.
Yeah, my dad was a big Brooklyn fan.
Oh my God.
Yeah, big
So what's your guess here, Al? Because I'm stumped. I can't. I'll throw it.
I'm not even going to try it.
I'm going to go with Kerry Wood.
No, he also did the 20.
He did the 20. That's
yeah.
right. Was it Sandy Koufax or Bob Gibson?
It was it was 1970.
Seaver?
Yes.
Tom Seaver.
Tom Seaver.
Tom
against
terrific.
the Padres.
Who lives in our area, by the way. He
really?
owns, I believe he owns a winery or has part ownership of a winery up in Napa County.
Really? Okay, we'll have to get him on. He had 10 in a row.
Yeah, no, I've got his number. We'll get him on sometime.
Okay.
Have you ever met Tom Seaver, Al?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
Tom, terrific.
Al Attles is joining us. Al is in case you don't know yet, that's one of those recognizable voices from the past because Al was a great coach. The Warriors won their first title on the West Coast when he was coaching. He played for the team for 10 years before that, and since he got out of coaching, he's been involved in the front office and also as a community ambassador. But I got to talk to you a little bit about this. The Warriors, as we speak, we don't know who they're going to play. They could play Oklahoma City. They could play San Antonio. The Warriors beat Oklahoma City 4 straight. They didn't win convincingly. They won a couple of games. They had to scrap to win, and 2 of them they did win convincingly. San Antonio, different story. They won 3 out of 4. The Spurs won 1 of those games. But I'm wondering, Al, if you, as a fan of this team, have a preference as to who the Warriors would play. Would you rather have them play a young, hot Oklahoma City team or a San Antonio team that may have 1 or 2 more bullets in that chamber to win another title?
Here's what I'm going to do. Back up on that. I would say I wouldn't care who we play. If we play the way we think we can play and are healthy, doesn't make any difference.
Yeah, that's a good point.
I just think that, because once you start trying to figure out, you rather play this team than that team, I think it puts you in a bind.
That's a good point because then you lose a little bit of that confidence.
Absolutely, you play.
Yeah.
You have to play.
What do you think of Kevin Durant and Russell Westbrook, though? That tandem, they're so much fun to watch. But I mean,
They're terrific.
they get all the publicity, and rightly so. But that group of supporting players, Canner and Adams and Deion Waiters, that's some good talent on that team.
Well, what happens is when you get to that point, it make any difference. You have to play your best basketball, and you have to beat the team that you're playing. And I think any time that you favor one team over another, you have to be very, very careful because if you think that way, that other team might step up and beat you. So okay, we're going to try to play our best basketball and hope that we can beat whoever we play.
Now, I tell you, now this is one thing I would do as a coach is I would tell my players no trash talking because how many times does that happen where
Well, it happened with Draymond Green. Doesn't seem to bother. With Draymond Green's a different story.
I don't mean trash talking on the court. I'm talking about like predictions ahead of time. Oh, we're going to steamroll over these guys.
And Draymond Green, for those that don't remember this, and Al knows this, this last week after the Warriors won a thriller up in Portland and take a commanding 3-1 lead, somebody asked him, "Are you going to win this thing? Are you going to close this thing out?" He goes, "Of course we're going to close it out. If I didn't feel that way, I shouldn't be out here." And that wasn't taken the wrong way.
No,
but
that's okay.
That's different.
Yeah.
I'm talking about like where you talk about
getting in somebody's
this
face.
guy, this guy's not so good. And,
you don't see that very often anymore, though, do you? I don't think you see it that as much, do you?
No, see, I was in a different era. We didn't, when you went to a series, I don't know how you can go into a cheers against Oscar Robertson and trash talk.
Yeah. Not going to do much good.
I don't know how, when I was playing with Will, nobody ever trash talk. Oh, we played against Russell. Nobody ever went and said, well, you know what? We can beat the
Yeah.
Bill Russell. Yeah, we'll beat those guys. No, you didn't think that way.
That was a good way.
But I think, years later, it became a thing where a lot of guys would do a lot of trash talk. But I guarantee you that in that locker room, somebody would get those guys and pull them aside and say, look, let's let how you play do your talk.
Exactly.
You watch a guy like Steph Curry in the last 2 games. He comes off of 2 weeks inactivity and lights up the scoreboard in Game 5 up in Portland or Game 4.
Let me just cut you.
Yeah, sure.
Just cut you off. Have you ever heard him say anything from the trash talk?
No.
Never.
Zero.
I was going to ask you about that. Now,
that's the point of
yeah.
me. Let your game talk for you.
Game talk for you. Yeah.
Don't let them. But there've been some athletes and some terrific athletes who would do a lot of talking. But sometimes the reason they talk so much is to try to soothe themselves.
That's right.
Yeah.
Psych themselves
Well,
up.
it seems like Draymond Green seems to be the only one on the team. It's almost like everybody funnels all their energy. Like, let this guy be the guy who kind
And
of.
that's me. Is that a
I agree.
It's a good thing, Al. Do you have that one guy like that? Is that a good thing for a team?
Well, it depends. For instance, I played with a guy you may have heard of. I played with a guy by the name of Nate Turner.
Oh yeah.
He never said anything like that.
Yeah.
It was a guy who I was even probably a little closer to because I grew up with a guy named Will Chamberlain.
Yeah.
Scored 100 points in the game. Never said anything except, I'm going to try to win the game.
Yeah.
And we got 100 points in the game. I think we won that game.
Yeah. It almost seems like it was more of a gentleman's game back then. I mean, I know it was still rough
I
and
think
tumble.
it became the big thing. And Muhammad Ali, was a different, guy. But when you got to know him, he was a terrific guy.
Yeah.
And sometimes you do things because you think that people want you to or whatever. But the one thing I do know is when he got in that ring, it didn't make any difference what anybody said. Nobody could beat him.
But it's interesting too with like from a money standpoint, guys who were a little bit more boisterous are more marketable.
But sometimes,
Like Allen Iverson.
sometimes those people who are trying to promote you would say things like, in order for you to do more of this or get more money, you have to be more boisterous.
Yeah.
Other times, guys don't even think that way away from the situation.
Well, like a guy remember John Olerud? He was hitting 400 for a long time, but just quiet, mild mannered. He's not a marketable guy.
Well, then you get a guy like a Deion Sanders who struts off the field and says, "This is my house. I built this house."
But away from the situation, and I can remember situations where people would talk to him, marketing people say, "You have to do this to build your credibility with others." They would do it, but when you got to know them away from that, they were the nicest guys you ever want to be around.
Gotcha.
Yeah, I got to ask you, Al. You played in a really distinct era where America was changing. The games, the pro games were changing. The money was getting bigger. It hadn't expanded to the point of ridiculous proportions today. But you were getting paid well, but not nearly what you deserved. And there was a lot more of a tightness, I would think, among the pro athletes. You talked about how you got to know Jackie Robinson and you met Muhammad Ali. I get the feeling that in your day, back in the '60s when you played, that pro athletes were probably, when they got together, there was maybe even more brotherhood than there is today.
Are you talking about from a black-white thing?
No, I'm talking about actually for athletes in general. But now that you mention it, because of there was still a lot of exclusion in our country in the 1960s, that was changing.
Yeah.
The African American athletes, I would think, formed, and tell me if I'm wrong, Al, a lot of kind of unspoken sort of support groups for each other.
Well, I think the support was the fact that away from the floor, guys were a lot closer than people thought they were. But sometimes those people who were in the marketing area would say, you have to be this way to increase
Ticket sales.
marketing value.
Yeah.
What happened, guys would say things and then they would go, I'm going to say this, but I don't really mean it. But, I've been told that I need marketing value.
Yeah.
And it was unfortunate because, I go back to Will and see, when you knew a person like Will, when you knew him, many people who didn't know him thought he was a different kind of a guy, but he would do things that when you would tell people, they'd go, I can't believe he would do that. It was that nice. The nicest guy you ever wanted to be around was Will Champion.
Is that right?
When I was growing up, he was my basketball hero.
I actually ran into
Jerry West and Pete Maravich.
I ran into Will Chamberlain of all places when I was 10 years old in the San Francisco bus depot. I don't know what the heck I was walking through there, and all of a sudden I'm.
I was going to say, how did you recognize
Well, no,
him?
I look up at this enormous man, and this giant hand comes down and envelops my head, and he goes, "How you doing, little fella?" And that's my Will Chamberlain moment.
Okay, hey guys, we're going to cut to another commercial break here. When was the first Naismith College Coach of the Year award first awarded, and who was the recipient?
I may know this one.
Okay, all right. So don't say anything yet, Al. Okay, the first email with the correct answer is going to win a free 3-day, 2-night stay at the Lighthouse Resort. Email Edward at sportsecon101.com the answer to this question. When was the first Naismith College Coach of the Year award first awarded, and who was the recipient? All right, and don't touch that dial. We're on the phone with Attles, former Golden State Warrior coach and player, and you're listening to Sports Econ 101. We're going to be right back. Okay, Al, I was going to ask you on the air, so I'm going to ask you off the air. This is more of a personal question, because Bruce had mentioned African American. Can I ask you, do you like that term?
You know what? I've been around long enough to understand that terms change.
Okay.
But I've always, I grew up, and it's really interesting. The high school I went to was a predominantly Jewish high school.
Okay.
Open Hill, New Jersey. And I went to a black college. So I had both ends of the spectrum. And, it never occurred to me one way or another. I had a high school coach, Jewish guy. He had a camp up in Pennsylvania Mountains. And he never asked me to go to the camp. He told me I was going to the camp.
Good.
And I was the only, we had two African Americans at the camp. It was a Jewish camp. And he was probably my first coach that really made me toe the line.
Good.
I have nothing but the greatest respect for him. And then I went to a black college. So I had both ends of the spectrum. What happened is, I found out a long time ago, it doesn't make any difference where you are or who you are or what you do. It's how you react and how people react to you.
Yeah.
Interesting. I guess what I was getting at is that, people don't call me European American. You're an American. You're not an African American. You don't come from Africa. You come from America.
I think part of it is a pride. It's a pride thing.
But that term came in later on.
Yeah, it came during didn't it come during the 70s during the
right. What happens? It doesn't make it, like I said, and I repeat myself.
Hey, Mike.
High school I went to, my graduating class of 300, we had 5, we didn't call them Black Americans, African Americans back then. And what happened is, but it didn't make any difference.
Yeah.
And my high school coach, who was a Jewish man, took me to a Jewish camp and asked me to go there, but he never asked me to go there. He told me I was there.
Yeah, exactly.
You're coming.
Good for him.
He had a great influence on my life. Then I went to a black college.
Yeah.
So it doesn't make any difference where you go. It's how you react and how people react to you. And
Good point.
And in fact, I think what we'll do is when we come back, I'd like to ask you, what advice would you give some of these younger players?
Okay,
All
sure.
right, here we go. All right. Welcome back to Sports Econ 101. Again, I'm Edward Brown, your host, along with Bruce McGowan. We cut to the second commercial break. We asked this trivia question. When was the first Naismith College Coach of the Year award first awarded, and who was the recipient?
I'm going to guess, Al, tell me if I'm right, because I think you may know this answer. I'm going to guess way back in the 40s.
No, a little later than that.
50s?
And you'll know both coaches.
50s or 60s?
In the 80s.
The 80s?
For the coach. Naismith coach.
Really? They didn't have that award until the 80s?
Yeah.
Really? Wow. I would
Okay,
never. Who was it?
I'll give you a hint.
A college coach,
Yeah,
right?
college coach.
Oh, like Dean Smith, maybe, or
No, this guy was a little bit more excitable.
oh, Bobby Knight.
Bobby Knight,
Bobby
that's
Knight.
right. And
Yeah,
Pat
sure.
Summit of
Yeah,
Tennessee.
I was going to ask you, Al. Have you ever met Bobby Knight and talked with him?
Sure, I knew Bobby very well.
Yeah. What kind of a guy is he when you get to know him as a person away from
He was a lot different than the image that he projected.
Yeah.
Once you got to know him, when he got to know you, you found out that he was a lot different. But the persona that he had, as far as media and everything, was different than he was as a person.
I just think he didn't like the media that much. I think he found it. It's kind of like Greg Popovich. He sort of feels it's a necessary evil.
Well, sometimes that's a show too.
Yeah.
And I'm not, I don't know for sure, but Bob, I knew Bobby beyond that.
Interesting.
He was never the player that a lot of people were. He was just a different guy.
Yeah. Oh, that's no
So-
question.
But a good guy.
Yeah.
He was.
So, Al, with all your experience, what advice would you give some of the younger players coming in the NBA right now?
Well, advice is very, very difficult to take. It's easy to give.
I'm good at giving advice, but I'm never good at yeah.
Because what happens is,
My wife is too.
no. What happens is, so many people give advice. Like I said, it's easy to give, but it's tough to take.
Mm.
So what happens is, you have so many outside influences of people. In fact, I talked to a very, very good friend of mine, and you may have heard of his name. His name was Les McCann.
Oh yeah, we mentioned it. Yeah.
He and I are very, very close. He's a terrific guy and a great basketball fan, and he even played. He used to come over to the house. We had a basket out there.
Is that right?
Oh yeah, but he was a great guy, and we talk about this all the time because what happens is, he's a great musician, but if he had his druthers, he would want to be a basketball player.
Yeah.
But I used to tell him, Les, you're a great musician. Don't worry about basketball. He said, but I can shoot. I said, I know you can shoot. Do me a favor. He said, well, I said, keep playing the piano.
He plays a pretty mean piano too. He still does to this day.
In fact, I talked to him today, and he was on a tour somewhere. And
Yeah, I still have dreams of being able to dunk a basketball. I got to where I could start.
I actually did.
Did
Well,
you?
I'm 6'5", so I should be able to. But I used
but here's the situation with dunking a basketball. Let me ask you a question. You said you would love to dunk a basketball, right?
Yes.
How many points do you get for dunking a basketball?
I get 2 unless I get fouled. Then I got a potential for 3. No, it's more of an athletic thing, obviously.
How many points do you get for putting the ball in the basket without dunking?
3 points if I'm behind the. No, I know what you mean. 2 points. It's more of just an athletic type.
Absolutely. If you're a coach and a guy tries to dunk the basketball and misses,
Oh, it's embarrassing.
coach take him out of the game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know what? Next time, just put the ball in.
Yeah.
Put it in the hoop. That's what I love about today. I think the athletes. Al, tell me if I'm wrong. It seems like the NBA. Yeah, there's the three-point arc. It's been around for a while, so that's not like what it was like when you played. But at the same time, it seems like there's a lot more passing, there's a lot more emphasis on defense, and there's a lot less above the rim play and more of the long. Steph Curry has really, let's face it, has revolutionized the game with this amazing
But
shooting.
here's the difference, I think. Years ago, the most important thing was to get the ball as close to the basket as you possibly could to get the easiest shot you possibly could.
Exactly. Your percentage goes up.
And if you look, and you guys probably too young to know this, I was old, I was back there. If you look at the shooting percentages, when they came up with the three-point shot, they had the lowest shooting percentage in the history of the NBA.
Yeah.
No, that would make sense.
Yeah.
Well, because what happens is, the closer you get to the basket, the higher it is.
Sure.
But with a 3-pointer, though, because you get more points, now it starts to kind of balance out a little bit
Well,
more.
because guys are better shooters now.
Yeah.
Like back then, because there was and I go back to my original statement about the guy who I was just a terrific fan of, a guy like Will Chamberlain. What happened is, he's a big fella. You get the ball in the post. You put the closer you get to the basket, the more points you're gonna get, and the more games we're gonna win.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Very simple. But then all of a sudden when he came 3-point shot, and I go back to when it first came in, the lowest
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
I still think they should come up with a 4-pointer.
Yeah.
No, seriously.
Half court shot.
Well, maybe not even. No, somewhere between half court.
You're not too far away because what happened is someone recommended that years ago that you should came up with the 3-point shot, and then somebody said, well, okay, if you have a 3-point shot, suppose you shoot it further than that, then you have a 4-point shot, and then the 5-point shot. I said, wait a minute.
Well, it gets ridiculous at some point. But the thing I like about the idea of a 4-pointer is, I mean, and you got to make it realistic. If it's half court, hardly anybody's ever going to do it. But if it's somewhere in between, then I think what would happen is, sometimes you get these scores that are getting really pretty close, and if you hit a couple of 4-pointers, now, I mean, an 8-point game is not out of reach.
I think it's
okay, but here's the problem. You just made a statement. Come up with a 4-pointer. Somebody's gonna say, okay, well, if you have a good 4-pointer from here, what about if you score from the other line on the other side? Come up with a 5-pointer. The 6-pointer.
10-pointer. Yeah.
I like it the way it is. I think the 3-point line. I don't know if you agree with me on this, but I think the 3-point thing is good in the sense that it adds an element of excitement. Yeah, it's changed.
But think about this. Excuse me for cutting you off.
Yeah, no.
Do you remember when they hit it with the 3-point?
Oh yeah, the ABA had it, and the NBA actually.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
When it first came out,
it was a gimmick.
They said gimmick.
It was a gimmick because the NBA needed to have some gimmick.
But so was the 2-point play for football.
It's part of the game.
Yeah, now it's part of the game.
Okay, so same thing with football, where the extra point was getting so boring, and it was worth only 1 point.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So I like the change that they made.
Hey, totally off topic and well, not off topic. We're talking basketball with Attles of the Warriors. Al, I got to ask you about LeBron James and Steph Curry. Probably the two dominant players in the game today, the two most exciting players. And it was interesting. I heard a quote from LeBron James the other day. He was very deferential to Curry because Curry's the first guy to win back-to-back MVP awards. And he says, he is the most valuable player. But, ... he pointed out that he wasn't saying, I'm a better player to my team than Steph is his team, but he was saying that every player is different in the context of what he does for his team.
That's true.
If you look at LeBron James and what he does and how he can change a game almost single-handedly, and you look at the way Steph Curry, for instance, against Portland the other night, took over the game. I mean, is it hard to make a comparison between the two because they're so much different in terms of their style of play?
I think it's difficult. Got two distinct types of play.
Yeah.
LeBron is such a physically guy from a physical standpoint, where Steph does it, not being as big and strong, but still as important to your team as what he does. You got to be very close. I go with you. You got me at a disadvantage, and my disadvantage is I played I played against Will, and what happened is there was never, in my mind, any more dominating player physically than Will Chamberlain.
Well, he was one of the strongest men in the world at one point.
Absolutely. Yeah. And so what happened is, you have to give people credit for what they do, and once you start, it's like trying to make a comparison with apples and oranges.
Yeah, it's unfortunate we do that though. I think that's a natural human thing, don't you?
They're both good fruit.
Yeah. Well, does LeBron remind you of any player from your era or any other era at all, like a Moses Malone, for instance? Does he remind you individually of any other player that you can think of, or is he just so special?
From a physical standpoint and what he's able to do on that floor, no.
Yeah.
I go back and I don't like to make comparisons because anytime you make a comparison, the great player that you make a comparison with, if he's second, he's not very good. Well, I got a couple guys in my name. You tell me if they're not very good. I'm gonna name one. A guy named Oscar Robertson. Pretty good.
Yeah, only averaged the triple-double, didn't he?
And a lot of them against me. So. I jokingly say that, but what I'm saying is, once you start making comparisons, and I know you have to make comparisons, but the comparison that should be made is which team won the most games.
That's right.
I mean, but it's funny because if you think of comparisons, that's kind of what the Hall of Fame is.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, it's only comparisons.
Okay, but I'm talking to two people. I hope that you understand what I'm talking about.
Yeah, we do. And especially, it is hard because
I found
it's
that
such a.
years ago.
I mean, like someone, let's say, and again.
But you never know what entails a the two people I'm talking to now would not be in this category, but I know people who didn't vote for other people because maybe the guy didn't give them what they wanted.
Oh yeah, well he's snubbing the media or something.
Yeah.
But okay, so someone like let's say Bob Cousy, all right?
Right.
In his day, he
Yeah.
was very good, but today I don't even think he'd.
Look, he was a fair player,
Yeah.
Yeah.
right? If you believe that, I got a bridge I want to sell you.
Well, no, what I'm saying, I mean, he was.
But you have to give credit for what they played.
Yeah, different era.
When Bob played, there wasn't anybody who could do what he could do on that floor.
Yeah.
He's kind of like a Curry, wasn't he? The way he handled the ball. I mean, the way he was a magician. He really was.
Yeah.
But I think what you have to do is you have to give people credit for what they did. He did it. And what happened is I played against Bob Cousy. He was older than I was, but when I came, I played against him. He was terrific when I played him. Okay, now, if you start trying to make comparisons with Bob Cousy and Steph Curry, that's like apples and oranges.
Sure.
Both good fruit, but it's a matter of preference. So,
And how can you compare? They played in different eras against different players.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay, but if you took Bob Cousy and a team, okay, you said, okay, who's the best? Bob Cousy, blah, 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 I got
Bill Russell. Yeah.
Okay, now Bill Russell would still be a dominant player in today.
I think Bob Cousy would be a dominant player today because I think if you put him in today, he would have grown up in this era, and his athleticism, he would have learned things maybe that he didn't know in those days.
I think that's very, very difficult to do because that's a matter of preference at that point.
Yeah.
First of all, it would never happen. So you give credit, for instance, you guys might not agree with me on this, but an opinion's like a nose. Everybody's got one. I think a guy named Oscar Robinson was in the top of the heap.
Yeah, see, and the thing is with
And the reason I say that is because I had to play against him.
well, no, but so with someone like Oscar, yeah, he'd do well in any era. Very similar to like Babe Ruth or Lou Gehrig, right? They would still be on the team today.
I think any great player would be good in any era. I really do.
And I think that's a good statement. Any player would be able to play in any era.
Yeah, I do.
What happens is that
We'll talk football next time with these guys who weighed 190 pounds compared to.
Well, that's a different sport now. That's a different sport.
It is.
Well, I'll tell you one thing about it. See, I played football, but I wasn't on that elite level. But I did play, and I was a fair player. What I'm saying is, if you could run 100 yards in 10 flat, it makes a difference which area you play.
That's true. That's a good point. Hey, Al, stay with us for 2 seconds. We're going to do a quick last break. Name 2 players who have played 21 years in the NBA. All right?
Oh.
Stay with us. Sports Econ 101 will be right back. All right.
That's a good one.
Hey, Al, you still playing?
I got a grandson who plays.
Your son is a friend of mine on Facebook, and I get a kick out.
He's a big Facebook.
I get a kick out of his. He has some really interesting posts.
He was a good player too.
Was he? Yeah.
Oh yeah. He went down to San Diego State.
I did not know this. Oh, okay.
He was a good player. He was a good high school player. He went to San Diego State.
Did you play, Al? Did you play in any? I know Jim Barnett was telling me he played in these senior leagues until he was almost 70. Did you play in any of these senior leagues at all?
No.
Yeah, no.
It's funny.
Some players do. Some guys do, and then other guys just say, once they get out of the game, that's it. I'm away. Were you that kind of guy that once you stopped playing the game, that was it, or did you sort of play just for fun on the side?
No. Once I started playing the league, and then when I stopped playing, no. But I was growing up in New Jersey. I'd go back home. Everybody would always want you to go out and play. And
Sure.
get upset with you if you didn't want to play. But what happens is we used to put these rules in that they want you to play after the season was over because you could get hurt.
Yeah, exactly.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah, I remember doing that football with a friend.
Oh yeah.
But I didn't get into basketball until after college.
Really?
Playing pickup games and stuff. And then
You didn't play the game until after college?
Not really.
Wow.
No.
Because when I was a kid, Al was playing, and I got into the basketball because of the Warriors. Because the Warriors went to the you guys went to the championships in I think it was
just said to me when he was a kid.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean when I was.
I can't tell you what.
Just remember, age is a number, Al. Age is just a number. All right, here let's close this thing out here.
Close this puppy out.
Here we go. Whoa. Welcome back to Sports Econ 101. Last time for today, I'm Edward Brown, your host, along with Bruce McGowan. Third and final trivia question. Name 2 players who have played 21 years in the NBA.
I'm going to guess that Kareem was one of them. What do you think, Al? Who's another
Actually,
one?
Kareem didn't play 21
No?
years. No. He may have played 20, but he
Okay.
played 21.
I know Kobe.
One of them for sure you know.
Kobe? No, Kobe
No,
played
okay.
20.
20. No, 21.
21 years. Ooh.
Okay,
Who?
Robert Parrish.
Robert Parrish,
Right.
the chief.
Yeah, for 4 teams.
Who was an original? Well, you coached him his rookie year, right, Al?
Yeah,
Oh,
right.
for the Warriors, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, and this is somebody who I remember, but I wouldn't have thought of this. And he played for 10 teams. Kevin Willis.
Kevin
Willis
Willis.
played for 21
Yeah,
years.
absolutely.
He was a good player,
He was a
too.
good player. He was a
Yeah.
brilliant player.
But if you talk to DCAC, I play with some guys and against some guys, and I can remember one who was probably one of my favorites of all time. You guys might have heard of, maybe not. They have to go check. And I can remember he told me something one day at the end of his career. And he told me, he said, Al, I got to the point where
We lost
so
him.
you know
Oh,
more than anybody when it's time to go.
You know more than anybody when it's time
All
to
right,
go.
Al, that's a good way to end the show.
Because we got to go.
Because we gotta go. Al Attles, thank you very much for joining us.
That was fun.
Okay, so here's our thoughts for the day. Sam Snead said, "Thinking instead of acting is the #1 golf disease."
Oh,
I
yeah.
bet that's true in basketball too.
Boy, yeah, I bet.
And Connie Mack, we all remember him,
Sure.
said, I guess more players lick themselves that have ever licked by an opposing team. They've licked themselves.
Oh, okay.
It seems it's kind of
That's a
weird to
strange
that are
thing, yeah.
licked by opposing teams. Basically, you're doing it to yourself.
When you said licked,
I know.
This picture of a guy licking his hand.
No.
or something.
Yeah, because the first thing any man has to know is how to handle himself.
Okay.
All right, tune in next week to Sports Econ 101. We're going to be discussing sports topics from a business perspective, giving away more free vacations for answering sports trivia questions. Thanks for listening. On behalf of our team, I'm your host, Edward Brown, and we'll see you next week.
Good night, America.
So long.
All right, Al, thanks
thank
so much.
you so much.
That was
Yeah,
great.
that was good.
And there was only one Will.
That's right. Will Chamberlain. God almighty.
Okay, good talk.
Okay.
Good seeing you. We'll see you next
Thanks,
week in the game. All right.
That's
Edward.
good.
Good deal.
Thanks,
That was a good
boss.
show.
Yeah, I'm
I
gonna-
love this pen. This is such a cool pen.
Oh yeah, you guys, we had that from a long
Equity
time ago.
Bank Corp.
Yeah, that was my